This one was sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Tim in Mankato, Minnesota.
Mankato!
If that is indeed his real hometown. Jim, I listen to your show quite often and would like your opinion of this article. And he sent a link here from The Sportster. Every wrestler that beat Ric Flair for a world championship ranked from worst to best.
Okay.
Are you interested in figuring out?
I'm salivating.
Well, according to this, the very worst wrestler to beat Ric Flair, I already hate this. The very worst wrestler to beat Ric Flair for the title is Carrie Von Erich.
What? What the, oh my God, Jesus Christ.
The tragedy of the Von Erich wrestling family is incredibly unfortunate and has defined their legacy in a negative way. Following David's passing, there was a glimmer of hope for the family. Carrie was able to surprisingly defeat Ric Flair in 1984 to become NWA World Champion in their home state of Texas. The moment itself was incredible, but unfortunately, Carrie's reign lasted only 2 weeks and is a footnote in the history books. That's what the Sportster says. Number 12 on the list, Jim, Ron Garvin.
Well, wait a minute, back up. But Carrie Von Erich, I haven't heard the entire list, and I can't name off the top of my head everybody that ever beat Flair for a world championship, but that's sort of like a when did you quit beating your wife statement. If you're the worst wrestler, but you're still as good as Carrie Von Erich was at the time, can you really be categorized as the worst wrestler to do something? That's just misleading.
And I also think you have to look at it from when they won the title as opposed to everything else in their career. For instance, Ron Garvin was number 12. Ron Garvin is NWA champion in 1987? I don't know. Of course, famously, he wasn't exactly used very well as NWA champion for the weeks that he was champion. But Ron Garvin, I don't know, a few years earlier than that? What do you think? He's number 12 on the list of the worst people, from worst to first, the people that Ric Flair defeated for the world title.
Well, again, I gotta wait to hear the rest of these names, but Ronnie Garvin, as we've said many times, was a fantastic fucking in-ring talent, a heck of a worker, tough son of a bitch. Was 1987 Ronnie Garvin as good in the ring as 1977 Ronnie Garvin, or maybe 1980 Ronnie Garvin? Maybe not, but still nothing to be embarrassed about. But it was an odd switch there, which has ended up reflecting badly on Garvin all these years later because people didn't want to see him beat Flair for the title. And the whole switch was obviously just for Flair to be able to win it back at Starrcade. So that's what people remember Ronnie Garvin for, when if that hadn't happened, they probably would have fonder memories of Ronnie's great body of work through all the multiple years preceding that. So I think he may be the only guy that ever won the NWA world title, and it made him look worse.
See, here's an example of where I think this list may be off. I'll take 1984 Carrie Von Erich and 1987 Ron Garvin over number 11, who beat them on the list, Jeff Jarrett.
Who?
In WCW in 2000.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of Jeff Jarrett's work, but I don't know if you can make it. Well, Jeff was a better psychological worker than Carrie Von Erich, obviously, but he didn't have the physique, and he was never to the level of over because of the Von Erich mania. Jeff was a better high spot worker than Ronnie Garvin, but he wasn't going to stretch anybody compared to Ronnie, but I don't know if that particularly applies in the professional ranks, but a questionable placement there already, yes.
The problem with Jeff Jarrett is a tremendously talented guy in the ring who, after the run as Double J, where him and the Road Dogg were going to have the feud and instead they both were gone.
Yeah.
Every push Jeff Jarrett had on the national stage after that always felt like it was being forced. And it never felt like it was organic or coming from the fans at all. And Jeff Jarrett's push was one of the things that didn't help me want to watch WCW around this period of time.
Well,
Again, it was overall bad, but
everything was stuck on and Shitstain was involved, but everything was stuck on the guitar and Nashville and updated Honky Tonk Man instead of going in a different direction after the light up fucking Conway Twitty suit in the WWF.
Number 10, The Giant.
Okay.
Did you even know? Did you even remember that he defeated Ric Flair for the world title?
I wouldn't have remembered it, no, unless you had just blurted it out like you did. But already then, I mean, I like Big Show. Is anybody going to make the case that a bigger star, no pun intended, possibly, but is anybody going to make the case that the Big Show was ever at any point in his career a better wrestler than Ronnie Garvin, Jeff Jarrett, or Carrie Von Erich? I don't see how that would be possible to try to make that case. Bigger star, possibly. Better wrestler, no.
Used better as a Giant there than for Vince. That's one of those weird ones where WCW got it right. WCW knew how to use the Giant. Everyone always said, oh, when Vince gets his hands on a Giant. And then he went there, and right away he was Paul White, and then he got the name The Big Show, and I know people now accept it, but it's a stupid name, and it really sounded dumb at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then that music, and then he got the tattoo, and then his hair fell out. I mean, it wasn't an easy road.
It wasn't an easy road.
It wasn't an easy road, but I thought he was great in WCW.
Well, apparently they did too, because he's ahead of Carrie Von Erich, Ronnie Garvin, and fucking Jeff Jarrett.
And ahead of him at number 9, and ahead of him at number 9 is Diamond Dallas Page.
Oh boy, okay. Again, bigger star nationally because of the time period, yes, but nobody can argue that Dallas Page was a better wrestler than Ronnie Garvin. Can we? Can anybody? Would Dallas Page say that he was better than Ronnie Garvin with Ronnie's 20 fucking plus years of experience and worked all over the fucking country and world and et cetera, et cetera? And I mean, Carrie.
See, what do you think? Dallas Page, I'm not a major Dallas Page fan, but like he should be, and he should be ahead of Jeff Jarrett, because the one thing that you have to remember, both WCW World Champions, Dallas Page got himself super fucking over.
Yeah, he was over.
Whatever you want to say about him, and I'm not the biggest fan, he was super over. Jeff Jarrett was the opposite. He never got that over. That's
why I think I have problem with the way that this thing is titled, phrased, or whatever. Worst wrestlers. Not most over guys or biggest stars or whatever, but worst wrestlers. But go ahead.
At number 8, Dusty Rhodes.
Well, there you go, baby. I'm trying to figure out who seven guys could be on top of the American Dream when you're talking about people that beat Ric Flair for the world title. Because Dusty was over longer than Carrie, over bigger longer than Carrie, over bigger longer than Garvin, over bigger longer than Jeff, over bigger longer than Page, over bigger longer than the Giant.
If you're comparing everyone in terms of where they are in the world of Ric Flair, one of Ric Flair's biggest career rivals ever.
Yeah. So now I was taking issue worst wrestlers, but in this case, Dusty was nowhere near the in-ring wrestler that Ronnie Garvin or Jeff Jarrett was, but he was a much bigger star. He was bigger than Dallas Page ever was, bigger than the Big Show, bigger than anybody. So how are they grading it? Wrestling talent or level of stardom?
Well, at number 7, Randy Macho Man Savage.
Woo! Okay, there is somebody who can rival Dusty Rhodes for level of over and was actually better in the ring, but never was the booker, etc. But you can't. The only thing I'm trying to think is now, how have we got 6 people that are going to beat Randy Savage and Dusty Rhodes?
Did you ever see the WrestleMania 8 match with Savage against Ric Flair, where Flair bladed and got in trouble, but he got all bloody? It was great.
Yeah,
it was
probably
a great match.
Years ago, yes.
The one they teased they were going to put naked photos of Elizabeth on the giant screens. And much to the disappointment of myself and all my friends, they did not. A great match. Underrated match. Number 6, Hulk Hogan.
Okay. I guess that's a name that could top Dusty Rhodes and Randy Savage. And of course, again, we're going with star power now rather than level of wrestling talent, or elsewise Hogan would not be on top of Randy Savage and some of these other people.
That's right. And you can't argue. Hulk Hogan, big star, big feud with Ric Flair. Ric Flair may have never come out of it on the right side, but some of that was he allowed himself to be booked that way. But,
yeah.
But who could be bigger than Hulk Hogan? Only 5 other wrestlers. At number 5, a surprise pick, Tatsumi Fujinami.
What? Okay, was that even a recognized drop or was it a phantom drop?
It was recognized in Tokyo. I'll tell you that. It was recognized there. It wasn't recognized here. I think it was recognized by the NWA at the time. But this is right when the NWA World Title and the WCW World Title went in 2 different directions.
That's right, and that was part of the reason why they were going in different directions. Okay, Jesus Christ, if you talk about actual in-ring wrestling talent, you may not be able to find anybody better on the list, but if you talk about level of star power and you leave the country of Japan, then he would be the least on the list, because at that time, nobody practically in the United States knew any, comparatively speaking, knew any of the top Japanese guys except for Muda, who had been on WCW television.
Yeah, and again, Fujinami in 91 is not Fujinami in 88, and he's not Fujinami when he was younger and he was a light heavyweight.
Right.
Different Fujinami. But number 4 on the list, Bret the Hitman Hart.
Okay, now you've got level of star power and the excellence of execution. I think that Hart, Dusty, Hogan, Savage should be maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, but I can't imagine who's left. I'm trying to think.
Well, number 3, one of the big ones, Harley Race.
Oh, forgot about Harley. Now, this is interesting because, again, for star power, Hogan and Savage and, God, even Page at his peak was probably a bigger national star than Harley was, but Harley had the benefit of 30 years in the territory, so everybody at one time or another had seen him. And Harley's in-ring is obviously unquestioned, but at the same point, what was that, 83?
Starrcade 83?
No, well, 83 when Harley won. He won the title. So
yeah, he beat Flair in 83 because that was when also they changed the main event for the world-class Star Wars show, and Harley all of a sudden showed up. Yeah.
So the point is, 1983 Harley Race. I'm not sure I would put him performance-wise up against Randy Savage or potentially Fujinami or whatever. But okay, there you go.
At number 2, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Forgot about the steamer. I can't see that now we're going back to in-ring match quality because Ricky was not as big of a star as Hulk Hogan or Randy Savage or etc., but he probably was Flair's preeminent in-ring rival from an athletic and performance standpoint. And also, and honest, where do you stand on? We know Bret Hart was a bigger star in his day than Ricky Steamboat was, but who was better in the ring, Steamboat, Bret Hart?
Really tough. And again, I'm judging the best of Bret Hart is kind of a different era than the best of Ricky Steamboat. I would take Bret Hart.
I'd have to take Steamboat just because I loved the way he sold as a babyface.
That's the thing. I love Ricky Steamboat, and I'm not taking anything away from him. And I agree with you. Bret Hart could do babyface or heel. And he's believably rough in either role.
I concur.
Well, we only have time or space or This list only has one more person.
We got all the time in the world, but we've only got one more person on the list.
Every wrestler that beat Ric Flair for a world championship, ranked from worst to best. At number 1, Sting.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on. No, but, okay, I'm sorry. And not to denigrate the Stinger, but no, Ricky Steamboat, Bret Hart, Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, Dusty Rhodes, not on top of that. Not on top of that.
All right, who's the biggest Ric Flair rival that you're, well, I shouldn't say surprised, but you look at this list, it's like, wow, everyone's there. Okay, Barry Windham's not there. There's one of the big ones that isn't there. But
because he never beat him for the belt, Terry Funk.
Right. Well, Terry Funk was a short, well, I guess.
But it was memorable.
It was very memorable, of course.
Bruiser Brody. There were a lot of classic Flair and Brody matches, St. Louis.
They weren't putting the belt on Brody.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, if you go for other Flair rivals, Flair and Valentine against the Anderson brothers in the Carolinas. Flair and Piper. Flair and Snuka.
Well, Flair has all these legendary opponents. Perhaps he can get pictures of all of them and have them sent to his skylight frame, and he can go and reminisce about the good times.
Boy, can you see that right now? Skylight frame sitting there on the desk or on the shelf or hung on the wall or spread around on your living room table or your coffee table or wherever you want to set these things. Put them up on the front porch. But see a skylight frame with pictures of all of the famous wrestlers that have defeated Ric Flair for the World Championship. That would be fantastic. Although I think possibly if it was in Flair's house, he would want a skylight frame of all the wrestlers that he's beaten for the world title. And then he could rank them in order of how many potatoed him or not. But folks, if you want the perfect holiday gift, because I know this is a rumor, but the holidays are just around the corner and everybody's looking for the perfect gift. We've suggested a few. I'll throw another one up on that list. These skylight frames. We've been talking about this thing. Even if you don't want to use it for the candid photography, for the naughty stuff that I've been screaming somebody needs to do because it's just tailor-made for that, you can also give this to your family, your friends, your loved ones as a gift that will touch them and touch their hearts and warm their cockles for the rest of their life. And you can add to it all. This is the only time, Brian, that you can actually buy somebody a gift. And then you can improve it later on, and you don't even have to be there in person. Because let's say you buy the skylight frame for your mom or your dad or your grandmother. They're not able to visit the rest of the family. They're shut down because of the pandemic. Whatever the case, they want to see pictures of the little Rugrats. You get them the skylight frame, you load it up with the pictures. You can just email pictures right to this skylight frame, and they pop up. You preload it. You send it off to Aunt Fanny or Uncle Felcher, and they look at the pictures that are on it then, but you can give that email address to the other members of the family and other friends where they can start sending pictures. And so your gift, the same gift that you got, can keep on giving because it can be improved and added to by a large network of friends and family so that everybody can keep in touch. And all you have to do is swipe through the pictures with your finger. You can use your finger to tap the person who sent you the photo. Well, you don't tap the person, you tap the photo and thank the person. You can do anything with your finger on this frame. It's got a black frame and a white mat, so it looks like a real photo frame, but the slideshow just starts going by. And think, if you don't like somebody, then imagine what you could do. You could send them one of the skylight frames. They open it up, set it on their shelf, and then you could take and you could print up flyers with the email address of that skylight frame, and you could pass them out all over town in unsavory parts of town saying, hey, send this guy a picture of your puckered sphincter.
Send Ric Flair one with nothing but pictures of JYD and Buddy Landell, all of his favorite opponents.
There you go. You can do anything with these things because skylight frames are miracles of modern technology, and there's a 100% satisfaction guarantee. If you don't love the frame, they will offer you a full refund. You're a prick if you take it, but they'll offer you one. But anyway, whether pictures of family or friends or whatever, no matter who you want to give this to, it is a model holiday gift. And right now is a special offer. You can get $10 off your purchase of a skylight frame when you go to skylightframe.com and enter the code DRIVE. That's right. SKYLIGHTFRAME.com. Promo code DRIVE. Skylightframe.com. Promo code DRIVE for $10 off the purchase of one of these fine, fine holiday gifts. Folks, they're pea-picking good.